people take their ability and try and bleed it, and I've seen that happen to a lot of people.
Strategy and creativity, I think we've jammed them together.
So I think two things are kind of coming up as true in this current climate. The first thing is that if you're doing something you love for the love of it, and you're going to continue following that passion long term into the future, now's a pretty good time to be working with that. And the second is, if you're doing something exclusively to find an audience and approaching it from a business angle, making decisions based on optimizing it for certain platforms, for example, not only is your work going to become quite a lot like everybody else's, but you're most likely going to hit a state of burnout pretty quick too. And the kind of incentives that we can fall into really easily today, and I'm talking about myself, I'm kind of warning myself here too, can lead us into playing the kind of computer game of audience building, as opposed to actually going on the more interesting, explorative journey of following that creative energy to do something that's worthwhile.
Right? Like if you stick to your guns with taste and you're like, I'm gonna ride this out and just make what I really want and build a community.
In this video, I want to look at that problematic relationship between good art and money, and hopefully start a discussion around how we can balance these pressures, building our own self-respect and value models in a way that's going to allow us to nourish our best creative work and enjoy and be satisfied with our creative practice over time.
What I like to think about as a creator is like the 10-year portfolio of my swings. Does that compound into something that like I'm proud of and excited about and motivates me? It takes a long time to build something valuable and meaningful to people.
And speaking of those creative pursuits that are in the building stage or development stage, I want to send out a quick shout to the sponsor of this video and long-term friend of the channel and supporter of the work that I do here, and that's Skillshare. One of the things that I want to develop this year, just for myself, not really around money at all, is my work with the piano. And I've got a simple goal, something that I know would bring me satisfaction in the future, which is to be able to rock up to a jam session, feel comfortable jumping on the piano and getting involved. I have two pianos in my house at the moment, but the one that I find myself using most often is this little one that I keep near my bed, and it's because that I'm able in the mornings to just, you know, pull it over and get some practice with it. And it's there in that routine that I've come to using Skillshare myself to push forward with my development here.
Okay, so it's important that we start
There's
to go
a few
over
different
something.
courses that I've jumped around in terms of learning the piano through Skillshare, but the one that I've been going to most recently is called Jazz Piano Improv Tricks 1 with a teacher that I really like called Josh Cook. Having this as part of my routine allows me to move towards that goal, even though it's a long way off, and pulling it in a really low friction way that I know over time will allow me to get closer to that place where I can feel some real creative satisfaction for achieving that goal. Whatever your own creative goals then, when you join Skillshare, you'll have access to courses from animation to photography to graphic design and music, as well as their offering of learning paths where they gather a sequence of classes to give you that guided and tailored route on your learning journey. And the best thing about my long-term partnership here with Skillshare is that they give me the opportunity to offer this audience the ability to try Skillshare for free. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So go get started and take a look for yourself. As I say, it's absolutely free to check it out for that first month, and taking part in that journey not only can support your own learning, but is also a great way to support the work that I do on this channel. Huge thanks for anyone who goes ahead and follows through with that. And thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. With all that said, let's jump into it.
It's a job. Like, you know, like being a doctor is a job. There's just doctors and they take care of people, you know what I mean? And I think music is the same thing, bro. It's, we take care of ourselves with it, and so we take care of people with it. So it should be able to support you. It should be able to give you what you need. And I think if you take care of it, you take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, it'll treat you good. If you try and pimp it, you gonna hoe yourself. And I've seen that happen to a lot of people. people take their ability and try and bleed it. And it just ends up making you, the person that's doing that, look pretty crazy.
Now, I'm not a massively organised person, and I have this notes document on my computer that basically just has a list of everything that I need to do in the day that I just take a look at in the morning. I was looking at it recently and I recognised that the activities that I put on that list have that conflict within them of trying to strike that balance between classically productive things, aka those things that will add to my financial security perhaps, and other forms of measurable success over time, and those activities that are more putting trust in the value of my more explorative, creative practice.
From my experience, it's always that it's easier than we think. Meaning that I've seen like students who have been working so hard. They're welding, they are making a man and a dog, and they're like working, and they are at in America, right? I mean, where you're in a university, where you have to pay tuition, where you have to eventually go to New York and have a studio and have a career and live and make a living. I would try to get something off their shoulders in a way and say, like, okay, don't just do it. And as Nietzsche said, friendship is not giving. I would not go and tell them, okay, you should do this bigger, smaller, find the right material. Everyone has to know. I mean, it's not a science. We cannot teach. It's so like, first of all, they have to find out what is their own and that takes time. And I think take your time and not just like immediately try to become successful, and that either comes or doesn't.
Now, a lot of working artists and creatives that you speak to will actually, contrary to belief, have a pretty structured way that they think about earning money and the importance of money. This is because, in all honesty, usually if you're following your explorative creativity or your artistic drive, you're often going to end up in places where this isn't going to be able to support your lifestyle. So you're going to have to find other ways to allow yourself to do that.
One of my most creative friends who made, amazing concert visuals and just like the most creative dude I know, left monetizing his creativity and got a job inputting data into spreadsheets so that he could be creative. Because he was like, I can't have my creativity pay my bills.
Even as someone who happily pays their taxes and has a good standing of living, there's still stuff that comes up in my mind constantly about how I need to make more money and how I need to optimize my work in order to, hit certain financial goals or get financial security, or, as I say, access these things that are more widely considered as measurable signifiers of success.
At $98 million. The hammer is up, sir. I'm selling it on this side of the room. It's Yuki's bid, a fair warning, and selling, thank you, sir, for $98 million. Thank you, Yuki. Congratulations. Thank you very much. LO 300.
I like to remain a little reclusive and not be just and be out there, just to be brought up and to be brought down, like they do to most of them.
Yeah, sometimes they can tell on you, don't they?
Well, they always do. I can't think of one big celebrity type person who they haven't done that to.
They tend on you?
Here and there.
For me this year, I know that the two creative practices that I'm engaging in that give me the most satisfaction and most healing, I guess, would be two that I really can't say or rely upon that they will give me any kind of measurable goals of financial security or success in the future. Those being my fiction writing and my songwriting. Again, let me know in the comments if what I'm saying kind of resonates with you at all, but for me, I guess I can recognize that actually the purity of not putting any pressure on these to perform in those measurable ways actually allows them to open up and be places of more nourishment for me than creative activities that are tested against those measurable outcomes. That's not to say there couldn't be a time when I finish these projects and wrap them up in some kind of packaging to go and try and find an audience, but it is to say that in the video game of financial planning and security, these activities offer me zero advantages, and spending time on them has to exist within a completely different value system. The job of the artist then is to turn down those voices and just say no to them, essentially, and to build your own currency of self-respect around engaging in those things that society perhaps won't value for, but that you recognize create real value for yourself.
It can feel hurtful when you have a critic saying, your work is bad, your work is blah, blah, blah. With all critique, lads, positive and negative comments, any type of external praise, they can make your creative space toxic. If I'm sitting down in my creative space to write or to create music or whatever, and I'm trying to achieve a sense of flow, I cannot be thinking about the opinions of some fella called Niall from Tullamore who wrote a comment on Facebook, or some person who's a critic in the Irish Times. I can't allow these people into my creative space. It wouldn't be professional of me to do so.
Now, there is a pitfall here, and that can be the kind of place where we end up falling in between these two opposing sides of doing things for measurable value and just engaging in the things that our creative passion pushes us towards. We have to be honest with ourselves here in terms of how much focus we're putting on those creative goals if we're gonna spend that time engaging with them. If you want to finish a piece of fiction of novel length, for example, something that's good and that you care about, you have to approach it with the seriousness that you would if you turned up in an office on a Monday morning and were surrounded by other people who were telling you that the work you're engaging in was important. There's an honesty we can develop here with ourselves, and a question I think that we can find useful in being honest here, which is, if we were getting paid £300 an hour to do this creative work, would we be focusing on it more than we are now? Not exploring less, but spending less time task switching, for example, or allowing other distractions to come into our practice and take us off route. I said in the last video that I'm writing a piece on validation that is gonna come out next week now, and yeah, I think it links into all this, so keep an eye out for that.
So when you're an artist, you have the wonderful privilege of creating art and then sharing that with the public. And that's a magnificent feeling. But also, when you do that, you enter a contract whereby the public are now allowed to criticise the art that you make. And they can criticise it positively or negatively. So I want to speak about how to navigate both positive and negative critique.
But for now, I just wanted to leave this video here and keep it relatively tight, because I'm interested to hear your opinion around these issues that everyone kind of struggles with who's engaging in their creative work. How that drive to make money affects your work, if you feel that pressure as I've described and how you avoid it, or if there's any other parts of this relationship between your creativity and the kind of measurable goals of success or making money that I've missed here. With that said then, thanks to the people who support this work and allow me to spend the time writing these videos, thinking about these topics and communicating it with the people who enjoy it here. I've stuck another video on the screen now on a similar topic, which was a popular one and people enjoyed and engaged with quite a lot. So do check that out if you're interested in more around this. And yeah, with all that said, peace and good luck in your own work until next time.